Nobody expected Hollywood's most legendary director to destroy his most dedicated leading man in front of the entire film industry. Steven Spielberg leaned back in his director's chair at the American Film Institute, a disappointed frown spreading across his weathered face as he prepared to demolish Tom Cruise's acting reputation. "Tom, your intensity and commitment are admirable, but real acting requires emotional depth that transcends physical stunts and method obsession," he declared with decades of directorial authority. But what the Mission Impossible star revealed next would leave Spielberg speechless and revolutionize how Hollywood defines great performance. And if you want to see how Hollywood's most intense actor exposed the film industry's greatest director using performance techniques that redefine cinema forever, watch this entire story and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking confrontations that Hollywood tried to keep secret. The American Film Institute's historic campus in Los Angeles buzzed with anticipation that Thursday evening in May 2026. The annual AFI Master Series had brought together Hollywood's most influential figures for what was billed as a candid discussion about the evolution of screen acting and directorial collaboration in modern cinema. Steven Spielberg, at 79, had spent over 5 decades building the most successful and influential directing career in film history. With over $10 billion in worldwide box office revenue and films that had defined multiple generations of moviegoers, Spielberg had become the undisputed master of cinematic storytelling and the industry's most respected voice on performance and filmmaking craft. Spielberg's approach to directing actors was legendary throughout Hollywood. His ability to guide performers to career-defining performances had made him the first choice for actors seeking artistic credibility and awards recognition. From Meryl Streep in The Post to Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, Spielberg had consistently drawn nuanced, emotionally complex performances that elevated both individual careers and cinema as an art form. The director's philosophy emphasized emotional authenticity over physical spectacle, character development over action sequences, and internal truth over external intensity. His films consistently prioritized storytelling and human connection, making him both commercially successful and critically acclaimed in ways that few directors had ever achieved. But Spielberg had also become increasingly vocal about what he viewed as modern Hollywood's obsession with spectacle over substance, particularly criticizing the trend toward action-heavy blockbusters that prioritized visual effects and physical stunts over character development and emotional storytelling. Tom Cruise, at 64, represented everything Spielberg had grown to question about contemporary filmmaking. While Cruise's dedication to performing his own stunts and his intense preparation methods had made him one of the most successful movie stars in history, critics within the industry had begun questioning whether his approach prioritized spectacle over genuine dramatic performance. The evening's discussion had been arranged to explore different approaches to screen acting, with Spielberg representing traditional dramatic method and Cruise defending modern action-oriented performance styles. What had been planned as a collaborative conversation was about to become a philosophical battle over the future of cinema. The auditorium was packed with actors, directors, producers, and film students, all eager to hear insights from two of Hollywood's most successful and influential figures. The audience included Academy Award winners, studio executives, and entertainment journalists, covering what many expected to be a routine discussion about craft and collaboration. As the discussion began, Spielberg and Cruise sat facing each other on the AFI stage, their contrasting approaches to filmmaking immediately evident in their demeanor and preparation. Spielberg appeared relaxed and professorial, while Cruise radiated the focused intensity that had become his trademark. The moderator opened with questions about the relationship between physical preparation and emotional performance, expecting a friendly exchange of professional perspectives. But Spielberg's first response would set a confrontational tone that surprised everyone present. "I've worked with the greatest actors of multiple generations," Spielberg began, his voice carrying the authority of decades directing Oscar-winning performances. "What I've learned is that truly great acting comes from emotional vulnerability, not physical intensity. It requires actors to access genuine human feelings rather than just impressive athletic abilities." The statement was clearly directed at Cruise's approach to performance, though phrased as general artistic philosophy. Cruise recognized the implicit criticism but maintained his composure. Waiting for a more direct challenge, Spielberg continued, his tone becoming more pointed as he addressed modern Hollywood's direction. I'm concerned that contemporary filmmaking has confused spectacle with storytelling, and that actors are being encouraged to prioritize physical feats over emotional truth. The moderator attempted to redirect toward more collaborative discussion, but Spielberg was clearly building toward a direct critique of Cruise's methods and their impact on cinema as an art form. Tom, your intensity and commitment are admirable, Spielberg said, turning to face Cruise directly. But real acting requires emotional depth that transcends physical stunts and method obsession. Great performances come from accessing genuine human vulnerability, not from hanging off helicopters or performing dangerous stunts. The attack was now explicit and personal, challenging not just Cruise's methods, but suggesting that his approach to performance was fundamentally superficial compared to traditional dramatic acting techniques. Cruise's response would begin a systematic defense of his philosophy that would challenge Spielberg's assumptions about performance, preparation, and the relationship between physical and emotional authenticity. Stephen, I deeply respect your artistic achievements and understand your perspective about emotional authenticity, Cruise replied, his tone respectful but clearly prepared for serious artistic debate. However, I believe you may be creating a false distinction between physical preparation and emotional truth. In my experience, the two are inseparable and mutually reinforcing rather than competitive approaches to character development. The response immediately elevated the discussion beyond simple disagreement about methods to fundamental questions about the nature of performance and authentic character portrayal. Spielberg leaned forward, his interest engaged despite his skepticism. Tom, I've directed some of the most physically demanding performances in cinema history, but I've never confused athletic preparation with emotional exploration. How do you justify prioritizing dangerous stunts over the kind of character work that creates lasting artistic impact? Cruise's answer would reveal the sophisticated thinking behind his approach while challenging Spielberg's understanding of how physical experience could enhance rather than diminish emotional authenticity. Stephen, I think the assumption that physical preparation somehow interferes with emotional development misunderstands how actors access genuine experience and authentic feeling. Cruise replied, his intensity now fully focused on artistic philosophy rather than personal defense. When I spend months learning to fly helicopters for a role, I'm not just creating spectacle. I'm accessing the actual physical and emotional experience of the character I'm portraying. The fear, concentration, and commitment required for dangerous flying directly inform the emotional choices I make in dramatic scenes. The artistic argument was sophisticated and challenged traditional distinctions between external and internal acting techniques, suggesting that physical experience could enhance rather than replace emotional authenticity. Spielberg attempted to dismiss this philosophy through appeal to traditional dramatic training and established acting theory. Tom, that's an interesting theory, but classical acting training has emphasized emotional memory, character analysis, and psychological preparation for good reason. Physical skills might inform performance, but they can't substitute for genuine dramatic technique. Cruise's response would expose the limitations of purely theoretical approaches to performance, while demonstrating how modern acting methods had evolved beyond traditional classroom techniques. Stephen, I absolutely agree that emotional authenticity is essential, but I think you're underestimating how physical experience can access emotional truth more directly and powerfully than purely intellectual character analysis, Cruise replied, connecting his tablet to the auditorium's display system. The screen showed comprehensive documentation of Cruise's preparation methods that he had clearly organized for this artistic discussion. For Top Gun: Maverick, I didn't just study naval aviation intellectually. I experienced the actual physical and emotional demands that fighter pilots face daily. The preparation documentation was extensive and revealed the depth of Cruise's research and training beyond what audiences or even industry professionals typically understood. The G-forces, split-second decision-making, and life-or-death concentration required for carrier landings created emotional and psychological states that no amount of traditional character analysis could replicate. Cruise continued that he clicked to footage of his actual flight training that demonstrated the intensity and authenticity of his preparation. When I perform dramatic scenes as a pilot character, I'm drawing on genuine memories of fear, excitement, and responsibility rather than imagined emotions or intellectual understanding. Spielberg was beginning to understand that Cruise's approach was more sophisticated than he had assumed, but he attempted to maintain his position about the superiority of traditional dramatic methods. Tom, your preparation is impressive, but individual physical experiences can't substitute for the broader emotional range and character development that great dramatic performances require. Spielberg said that Cruise's response would demonstrate how his methods actually enhanced rather than limited emotional range and character development. Stephen, let me show you how physical preparation actually expands rather than restricts emotional access and dramatic possibilities. He clicked to comparative analysis of his performances that revealed patterns most industry observers had never noticed. In Born on the 4th of July, I spent months in wheelchairs, learning not just the physical limitations of paralysis, but the emotional and psychological adaptation required for that life experience. The preparation had been extensive and demonstrated Cruise's commitment to authentic character development rather than just physical accuracy. The rage, frustration, and eventual acceptance that Ron Kovic experienced weren't emotions I could access through imagination or emotional memory exercises, Cruise continued. They came from actually experiencing the physical reality of his limitations and the daily challenges he faced. He clicked to critical analysis and awards recognition that had resulted from this physically informed emotional performance. The Academy Award nomination and critical acclaim for that performance came specifically from critics recognizing the authentic emotional depth that physical preparation had enabled. Spielberg was now genuinely impressed by the systematic nature of Cruise's approach and its documented artistic results. Though he attempted one final challenge about the limitations of action-oriented roles. Tom, your dramatic work is indeed impressive. But how do you apply this philosophy to the action films that dominate your recent career? Surely Mission Impossible films don't require the same emotional depth as dramatic character studies. Cruise's response would deliver the most compelling argument for his artistic philosophy, while demonstrating how action and drama could be integrated rather than treated as separate categories of performance. Stephen, I think that question reflects exactly the false distinction I've been challenging, Cruise replied, clicking to analysis of his action film performances that revealed previously unrecognized dramatic complexity. Every Mission Impossible film is fundamentally about human relationships under extreme pressure, trust, betrayal, sacrifice, and moral choice. The physical stunts aren't separate from character development. They're expressions of who Ethan Hunt is as a person. He displayed scenes that demonstrated the integration of action and character development in ways that challenged assumptions about genre limitations. When Ethan chooses to hang from a helicopter rather than abandon a teammate, that's not just spectacle, it's a character choice that reveals his values and emotional priorities. The artistic analysis was compelling and reframed action sequences as dramatic expressions rather than mindless entertainment, demonstrating sophisticated understanding of how physical performance could convey character truth. Moreover, Cruise continued, the physical and emotional demands of actually performing these stunts inform every dramatic choice I make. The real fear, commitment, and trust required for dangerous sequences create authentic emotional states that enhance rather than diminish dramatic performance. Spielberg was now clearly reconsidering his assumptions about the relationship between action and drama, physical preparation, and emotional authenticity. The systematic nature of Cruise's artistic philosophy and its documented results had challenged his preconceptions about modern filmmaking methods. Tom, your analysis is more sophisticated than I initially understood, Spielberg admitted. his scholarly honesty overriding his initial skepticism. You've demonstrated that physical preparation can enhance rather than replace emotional authenticity when applied thoughtfully and systematically. The admission represented a significant shift in perspective from one of cinema's most respected artists, and suggested that Cruise had successfully challenged established thinking about performance methods and artistic preparation. Perhaps, Spielberg continued, the distinction isn't between physical and emotional approaches to acting, but between thoughtful preparation and mere spectacle, between authentic experience and superficial technique. The conversation concluded with both men acknowledging that different artistic approaches could achieve similar goals of emotional truth and authentic character portrayal, with Spielberg expressing interest in exploring how traditional dramatic methods could incorporate some of Cruise's physical preparation techniques. Within days, entertainment media coverage of their discussion sparked broader conversations about acting methods, preparation techniques, and the evolution of screen performance. Film schools began incorporating physical preparation into dramatic training curricula, while action directors started emphasizing character development alongside spectacle. The confrontation became a turning point in how Hollywood approached the relationship between action and drama, demonstrating that different artistic methods could enhance rather than compete with each other when applied with intelligence and genuine commitment to character truth. Tom Cruise had not only defended his artistic approach, but had challenged the industry's greatest director to reconsider fundamental assumptions about performance and preparation. Steven Spielberg had demonstrated the intellectual humility and artistic openness that had made him successful across multiple generations of filmmaking evolution. The discussion proved that true artistic excellence comes not from defending established methods against innovation, but from remaining open to new approaches that can enhance and expand the possibilities for authentic human expression through cinema.